I tried for so long with different ideas and programs and of
Hmm.
blending things together, and I would try something out and I was like, okay, this kind of felt a little bit better. There's some people got some traction with this. Some people seem to be
Hmm.
getting results and enjoying this. And then I was like, okay, well maybe I should do some of that and this. And then it's been a unique experience. Like, yeah, it's never fun going through something or
Yeah.
evolving, but it's
Mm.
cool to reflect back on it and kind of see. It's exciting.
Hello, hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host, Keegan. And this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And I've got some questions for you real quick. Do you feel like you're in stagnant water? Do you feel like you're stagnant water? Well, I've got some answered. I've got some good news for you. If you're feeling like you're stuck in the grind but not moving forward, my guest this week is performance coach Rob Tracz, and he knows that struggle all too well himself. He turned burnout into breakthrough and now helps entrepreneurs do the same. We should dive into some resilience, intentionality, the power of creating your own luck, per se, and more. So remember, your next level might be one decision away. And with that being said, Rob, how are you doing today?
Hey, Keegan, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course, I'm excited to have you on. Burnout is one of those things that just kind of sneaks up out of nowhere, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of signs, but I feel like we're often playing ignorant and or choosing not to look at the signs.
That's a good way to put that, I think. But I don't know burnout all too well from the perspective of like getting through it per se, or at least helping other people do it for sure. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you, like where you're from, your background, what got you into being a coach for burnout and stuff?
Yeah, so I currently live in like Stamford, Connecticut, so I'm East Coast,
Okay.
and pretty much been in this area my entire life. I was born just outside of Philadelphia,
Okay.
and my parents got divorced when I was pretty young. I was about seven or eight, I think it was.
Mm.
And my mom, my sister, and myself had left Pennsylvania and we went to New York, and we kind of moved around a couple different schools, a couple different towns for a few years. So it was always difficult to kind of like make and maintain friendships as a young kid and not really understanding what's going on with my parents and such. And
Mm.
eventually found a small town upstate New York, and that became our home for a little while.
Okay.
And along the road, I started off, I was not into sports at all. I was like chilling, eating peanut butter and ice cream every single day, watching cartoons kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And in that small town, I finally made a friend, and his name was Sean. And so Sean was just like me. We were battling Pokemon cards, playing Game Boys, all the fun stuff. And then his dad was actually the youth football coach, and he helped Sean played all these games and sports and stuff like that, and he encouraged me to come out. And I learned some important lessons that first day of football. I learned that you can't wear jeans to football practice, and I watched all the like popular kids kind of getting through practice with ease, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really understand much, but I did understand that they seem to not have many problems with practice or making friends or knowing people on the team. So I kind of took that to heart, and then I started doing the warm-up on my own at home. I started with like jumping jacks and stretches, and just to do a little bit more so I could get a little bit stronger, I kept telling myself. And keep in mind, this is in like third grade, basically, third and fourth grade.
Oh, wow.
But next year I came back and I was a little bit better, getting a little bit older, stopped eating as much ice cream, got a little bit of playing time. And then the following year was like a little bit more. And as I continued to start working out and exercising and such, I started getting more playing time, started making more friends. And the more friends I had, the more birthday parties I got invited to. And then my mom made sure that my grades were good. So if I wanted to go to birthday parties, I had to make sure my grades were good. And a long story short, exercise and sports, thanks to Sean's dad, really became the gateway for personal development for me.
Ooh.
And through the years, I always kind of looked at how to optimize, how to get better at certain things. And that really paid off for me for sports, grad school, and then eventually starting my own business. And it almost was too good for me, because I had eventually scaled my book of business up to the point where I was working 15 to 16 sessions per day with like barely any time in between. But those are long days. I did that 7 days a week for about 3 years. And in that
Holy
period,
cow.
yeah, I just lost myself to the hustle, and
Oof.
eventually I climbed myself back out of it, and that's really where I'm at now is like helping other entrepreneurs and side hustlers juggle both a main job, side hustle, life, family, etc., and not lose themselves while they're doing it too.
Ooh, okay. Interesting story. And first of all, I've just got to say that it's pretty interesting that you started off so young with this whole like shindig, you know, because is that the right word, shindig? It's probably not.
I like it.
But it's interesting that you started off so young with it, because a lot of the times whenever we're young, if you're kind of like me, we had more traumatic things kind of happen and that shaped us in a way. But for you, it was more like, this is the way that we should like be shaping ourselves all the time, right? Like we want to be getting a little bit better, just not for certain vain things maybe, but for the sheer fact that we just want to get better, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's how it first started off with me, though. I think I've done a lot of time kind of reflecting on my journey and how things have come about. But for me, when I'm thinking back on it, I think really I was older. I was the older child, so I have my younger sister, and then parents got divorced. Never seeing my dad, missing out on the father figure. My mom is busy working, and she's also trying to date at the same time. And then my younger sister is the little princess, so she gets all the attention. And I just kind of felt like I was super isolated. And now looking back on it, I realized that I was seeking attention, and I didn't know how to. And then I didn't have any friends. I didn't know what to do. So I turned to like video games and cartoons, because I could get that attention. Like if I leveled up, I got that instant attention. Like, hey, good job, you leveled up. And then that became the thing. And I'm not saying that video games are bad or anything, is like or stuff at all, but that was my outlet. And then once I got into sports, I saw other ways of getting attention, and I realized like, hey, if I get better at sports, if I take care of my body, if I start to exercise, that carries over into more attention. And then some of those things carried over into like my schoolwork, and then grad school, and then with my job. And as I got older, I didn't have that sports setting anymore, so I didn't have the camaraderie, but I was still seeking attention, and it made it easy for me to just fall into coaching, because I'm still in the weight room, I'm still on the field with a lot of athletes, and because that's where my coaching career kind of started, was in strength and conditioning. Worked for me to help myself kind of build a better life for myself, so I figured let me help continue helping others. But then that also became the demise of me too, because I had built this machine that just wouldn't run without me, and I was too afraid to kind of turn it off.
Ooh, that's hard. First of all, I've got to say again, sorry about your parents' divorce. That is, I didn't mean to overlook that previously, because that is highly traumatic for anyone, I think. Whether you're the parents or you're the children in that scenario, it just sucks. So my deepest condolences there, because no one should really have to go through a family break like that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you were able to find some outlets, and I'm glad that you found one that actually turned into something like this. And even though it may have taken some self-reflection in the long run, it sounds like ultimately it led to all things good, right? Was that intentional, you think? Or were there some like little loopholes or side roads that you had to take before you were like, never mind, I want to actually do something else, but with the same skill set?
You know, it's funny because your question there kind of reminds me of that saying, is like, oh, everything happens for a reason. And I mean, I don't know what it is. That saying like irks me and I hate it, but I guess it can be true. I don't want to admit it, but kind of going through it, and in the time, that's what I kind of thought. I was like, all right, I'm going to be a strength and conditioning coach my whole life. I love the gym. I love being in the gym. I love like being around sports and stuff, but it didn't feel 100% aligned. So I knew that I love coaching, and I knew I love working towards getting better and just building stuff and movement and creating momentum and doing things. And it was weird because every day I'd go to work, I'd get up at like 3:00 in the morning to go to the gym by 4 to start training people at like 4:30. And then like at first it was exciting and I really liked it. And then building up the book, more clients was more exciting. And it was continued to kind of distract me. And I was always busy with the business, putting that first, doing this, doing that. And it just slowly starts to eat away at me because it's
Mhm.
like so close to what I wanted to be doing, but yet it was
Mhm.
like slightly off. So there's a bit of friction, and eventually that kind of wears down.
Mhm.
And down that road, the girl I was dating, we ended up breaking up, and then my friends stopped calling me for things because I was too busy working all the time. And I
Mhm.
wore it like a badge of honor because to me, remember thinking about the whole idea that I was chasing this attention is like people are
Mhm.
reaching out to me to do things.
Mhm.
And then for me, I would get some sort of like gratification by being like, oh no, I can't, I'm too busy. And then
Mm.
like being able to like turn people down, that would kind of get me like excited and moving forward more. And then fast forwarding, eventually my dad gets super sick with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and he's still down in Philly and I'm in Connecticut, and he took a really hard turn really fast. And
Mm.
from the day that he called me, which I still have the voicemail, to when he eventually passed away was about 6 weeks. So from thinking he was healthy to him passing away was so fast. And
Whoa.
when I got a call from his girlfriend, and he was saying like there's been a change of plans and he's actually has to go into hospice like tomorrow. And I was working 7 days a week, and I didn't want to turn away any clients.
Mhm.
So I would drive to Philly at like
Mhm.
8 o'clock at night. It's about 3 hours from where I am. I'd get there, stay by his bedside, and then around like 4 a.m. I would drive back to Connecticut, train people all day, and I did that for like a week straight. I was running on like energy drinks and sunflower seeds, and
Mhm. Yeah.
that was rough. And for I think most people, that would be a pretty eye-opening experience of like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be working so much. Maybe you should be spending some time with people you care about.
Yeah. Maybe.
But I just went right back to the grind, and that full schedule became a distraction for me for another
Mhm.
year or so.
Yeah.
And I just kind of kept burying it and just kind of kept going, never really processing what happened, and just kind of
Mhm.
continuously pushing through.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I'm deeply sorry about your father. That's really rough. 6 weeks is not a lot of time to do anything. But I gotta say, I'm super proud of you for doing that kind of thing for your dad, because holy shit, that is one hell of a drive and one hell of a week, you know? So I'm just glad that you pulled through it. But it does highlight the fact that something I heard a couple years ago hit a nerve with me, because I told someone like I just have a really good work ethic, and they were like, "No, I think you're trying to run from something," and I was like, "Screw you." And that's kind of what it sounds like you were trying to do too. Like you said, it was providing a distraction of sorts, right? But that's also kind of our Western society nowadays, is if you're not grinding, if you're not on the hustle 24/7, then you're falling behind, and you aren't going to have these nice things, and you can't even afford to pay rent now, you know? So,
Yeah, that
uh,
was me.
yeah.
I mean, I was making tons of money for, especially for like a strength and conditioning coach and
Mm,
where I was at. But like it was about like a year or two after my dad had passed, and it was like a holiday weekend or something. And all my
mm,
clients were away, and like I'm sitting in my apartment by myself in the dark with like my apartment is I have plenty of money, but all I have is like a chair in the living room, and then like my bed, and then like
mm,
my table that I just sat at. Like
mm,
TV's on the floor, and I'm just sitting in the chair on my phone, like like I'm on a dating app, and I'm just like, hey, who's available? Who's available to train with me this weekend? I'm just like swiping through my contacts, and
mm,
nobody was around. And then I sat and I was like, all right, well, what do normal people do on Friday nights, I guess? And then I was like, well, I used to go out with friends. I'm like, all right, well, nobody's available because nobody
mm,
wants to talk to me anymore. Like, all right, well, what about my family? My dad's gone, my mom's far away, and I'm like, all right, well, damn, what am I doing? What is this thing that I'm building here?
mm,
Like now I can't even go spend this money. I can't do anything. I'm like, who am I going to do it
mm,
with? Like, what am I going to do? And then
mm,
that's where then like bad things start coming into play. Start
mm,
drinking to kind of end my nights. And then I wake up super caffeinated to get back into the gym. Fast
mm,
food falling apart. Now I'm not working out myself and just not feeling
mm.
myself, and things started to downfall. And then was like, I got to change something. Something needs to change here.
Yeah, for sure. Those bad vices are usually the ones that really dig a quick grave, in my opinion, because I've been down that road myself. And I'm just glad that you're out of it, because you're helping people kind of stay out of that, because burnout will quickly lead to self-destructive behaviors such as addiction. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, when you're burnt out, you're so fatigued cognitively and physically that you aren't in a right headspace to make better decisions, and then easy, comforting choices become the default, and it becomes a slippery slope, right?
Yeah. Real quick, were you doing all that while you were still doing those 16 to 18 hour sessions per day?
Yeah. So after my dad had passed, that's when I was like, okay, well, I would come home and then I would be still like wide awake because I'm like super caffeinated up, because I've been basically non-sleeping forever, training people and just trying to bury my emotions and not processing anything. So then I was like, all right, well, let me think. I'm like, all right, well, I could have a couple drinks and eat some food, and I'll watch some TV, and I'll just go to sleep after like 5 Tito's and sodas. And then that became like a pattern. It's like, okay, well, it's not now. I'll do it during the week. Like, I don't just keep going. So then I would drink, wake up super early, tons of caffeine. I'm talking like 4 Monster energy drinks just to get out the door, and then like 6 5-hour energy shots like before 10 a.m. and then running through, and it became a mess. And then that holiday weekend, I was like, oh man, this is not good. Like my body hurts. I don't feel good. I'm tired all the time. Something needs to change.
Oh man, that's rough. I mean, I know that whole thing of having to like wake up early-ish for a job after night of drinking, or drinking all the time like myself. And it sucked. And that was one of the things, is that I had to kind of rely on energy drinks and stuff like that. But the thing is that if I slowed down, I could notice it, and I had to pick it right back up. Otherwise, I was a goner. And I think that it's pretty telling that you were able to sit there and just kind of realize that there's something not right, But you sat there and that was your turning point, I suppose, right? Was sitting there realizing something had to change.
Yeah, it was sitting there and kind of reflecting like, all right, well, I can either keep going with this lifestyle and things could get a lot worse, or I could try to make some changes here. And from there, it was like, all right, well, what do I need to do? What's helped me be successful in the past? And then it like kind of starting to reflect more like consciously on different things in my life. And then slowly that became piece by piece what I'm doing now. But it wasn't like an easy transition. Like I didn't just know like, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do, because like I worked so hard. Like I had all this like alphabet soup after my name for all these credentials and degrees and things like that, certifications. So I didn't want to get rid of strength and conditioning as a career or as an identity. So I was like, all right, well, I can't do that. Well, what can I do? And thankfully, one of my mentors was like, hey man, like don't get rid of that stuff. Just adapt it or evolve it into something new. And he was always like, you're the most equipped to help who you used to be. So like, let's look at some of these things where you were and who you were in these situations, and how did you start to climb out of it?
That's interesting. So you had someone help you put a mirror up to yourself and your past and say, hey, look, you've been here before, just in a different situation, kind of. So just flip the script a little bit, right?
Yeah. And it was thankfully found some great mentors, but like also was going down the road like trying to build the business, trying to figure out how to pivot a business and not also sacrifice everything at once. And it was like, okay, I don't know how to do this. It's like step by step. It was a slow grind. And there was also a lot of like scammers out there in the world too, because this was like right before COVID, and then when COVID kind of happened, it was like everybody online trying to like do everything. So I've gone through a lot of different coaches, but thankfully I found some really great people who've helped kind of guide me and continue to help me evolve as an individual.
Oh man, that is awesome. Yeah, COVID, I think, screwed up the entire world in more ways than one, and I think we're still feeling a lot of those repercussions today. But you do bring up a good point, though, is that we have to watch out for those scammers and everything. But on the side note of that, though, watching out, Would you say that you were in burnout right then, or would you say that you hit burnout trying to transition into that new business of sorts?
Yeah, so I say I was definitely burnt out when I was in like the personal training and strength and conditioning world.
Okay.
Like,
Just because you're going doesn't mean you're feeling good, right?
right. So like for me, when I'm thinking about burnout, because burnout comes up in a lot of different hats and masks and can show up and be caused by a lot of different things. And for me,
Yeah.
I was physically and mentally, emotionally just exhausted. I was not fueling myself with anything good food wise, or like when I talk about our diets, when I talk for like a lot of my clients, nutrition stuff is easy because that's kind of my background, but I also lean into like our digital nutrition as well. So like, are we listening to great inspiring podcasts like this, or are we just binging Netflix every single day, that's kind of where I was. I would come home, turn it on, and I would just like tap out and then start it over the next day. So there's no motivation. There's nothing. I wasn't consuming anything to motivate me or inspire or educate me on how to get better. And I was also draining myself with poor quality foods. I had no direction. I had no focus. I didn't know what I was doing because I was just like, okay, I'm pretty much maxed out my schedule. So where do I go from here? How do I continue to make more money? And I literally capped out. So I couldn't move or evolve to the next level. So I was hitting the ceiling, but I wasn't able to educate or motivate myself to find new ways to continue to go, which thankfully, because if I were to continue doing that, I might have just kind of continued to be stuck. Also, my schedule was chaotic. My life was chaotic. I was isolated. I had no support. I had no friends. I was all by myself, even though I was surrounded by people all day long. And I just felt like there was no opportunity. And if you look at any one of those things and you kind of separate them out, like those could be causes for burnout over a long enough period. But I felt like I had a lot of different avenues coming at me, and it was like a process to kind of work away from each one of those and rebuild certain things. And then as I started to get a better understanding of, okay, I know I can do something, I can help somebody out there, but I didn't know exactly what it was or how to do it. And step by step, day by day, I started to kind of piece things together. And then now I have this great process that I kind of bring people through, and it's like, it's so clear for me and it gets me excited. And it's been like it was like a journey, and it was tough because I was like trying to navigate this uncharted territory. But I don't think I was burnt out. I think I was motivated by the excitement to figure out what it was and find this new path that I was trying to get onto.
Ooh, okay. So you were definitely burnt out in the aftermath of your father, and that then you found your turning point, and then you had that turning point, but you had a little bit of difficulty getting there, figuring it out, your clear goal per se. But you did have something behind you pushing you, and that was that motivation, that curiosity of sorts, that yearning for fulfillment, maybe, right?
Yeah, and that's what kind of kept pushing me to keep figuring things out. And I tried for so long with different ideas and programs and of blending things together, and I would try something out and I was like, okay, this kind of felt a little bit better. There's some people got some traction with this. Some people seem to be getting results and enjoying this. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I should do some of that and this. And then it's been a unique experience. Like, yeah, it's never fun going through something or evolving, but it's cool to reflect back on it and kind of see. It's exciting because now I get to do fun stuff, and I look at my schedule now and it's still pretty busy with training and events and speaking things and conferences and different things that I'm going to. But it's so exciting because it's aligned exactly with what I want to be doing. And now I'm around awesome people, and like every day it's new problems instead of me just going into the gym and working with everybody who's got knee problems or back issues, or they're trying to go Division 1. It's the same thing every single day. Now I have the same problems, but they're differently evolved. Like, how does this person get their bookkeeping business off the ground, or how do they hire new people, or how does this person finish their novel that they've been working on for 10 years? And then I've got this person starting their coaching program, and how did they go from zero audience, and how did they build up? And so it's exciting because there's so many new problems to help people solve, and I don't know the answers to all of those things either. But I'm there to help people kind of guide through and show up for their best selves so that they can solve the problems themselves.
Yeah, and I think that that's the best kind of coach or teacher or mentor or anything really in that regard, in my personal opinion, is one that is going to be asking me questions to help myself clarify the situation and figure out the answers myself. You know, it's great if someone can sit there and say, hey, this is what you need to do and your life will be okay. It's like, okay, cool, but I didn't feel like I did that, so it might as well just be playing a video game, you know? So whenever someone is looking for your help, where can they find you?
Yeah, so social media is kind of like where I hang out the most on like Instagram and LinkedIn. It's easy to just like searching my name and finding me there. My podcast is pretty easy, direct place to kind of find me. Survivingthesidehustle.com.
Okay.
And then also at my website too. It's easy to kind of go in, see the different workshops, different events that are going on. Yeah, and it's easy to connect with me. Always open to conversations.
All right. So I'm hoping some people are going to hear this, just so far what they've heard, and be like, this guy has what I need, because I've got a business, but I got a side hustle, and I'm trying to make the side hustle my main business, because that's what you're really trying to help people do, right?
If so, I'm just helping people who are juggling multiple projects.
Okay.
Get unstuck, essentially stop spinning their wheels and start to generate momentum with their projects. And not get burnt out from it, because when you start a new project and you're super excited because you're like, I love this. Most of the people I work with, they have like hobbies that they started and they just love doing what they're doing. And then they're like, oh, you know what? I could make some money doing this. And then they make that jump from hobby into side hustle. And then they start to make a little bit more money. And what happens is they have their main job and then they have their side hustle, which then becomes another job. And then they start to resent their job and they resent their side hustle, and then they get burnt out because they're frustrated because they're doing something that they love and it's not adding up, and then that's where everything kind of starts to unravel.
Okay, so it's some kind of dissonance, really, right? Just you've got fighting heads, just like, I like this stability, I like this adventure in a sense, and it's really, I mean, the way you're putting it out there is like, that's how it is with the podcast, you know, because I'm a copier technician by day, and then by night I'm a podcaster and stuff. So it's like, cool, one of these things is a passion project. I find a lot of alignment in it. But what I've had to do with my main job is go, well, I really don't have a passion for copiers, but I have a passion for helping people, right? So I had to kind of change my mindset on it. Is that kind of how you help people avoid starting to resent their job too, if they can't do anything aside from it?
That's a great question. And I think the answer, or my answer, isn't as clear. I think it would be kind of dependent on the individual, because some people that I work with, they love their job that they do every day. Then they also love this other side job, and they're just trying to generate some momentum with the side job to then kind of either cut back on their job a little bit, but they don't want to end their job full time. They're just looking to move forward and keep it growing without losing themselves in it, because the minute that the friction or the wall kind of pops up and you're kind of on the hamster wheel and your project's kind of spinning but you're not getting any traction, or it's not moving, and then you kind of lean into that a little bit more, then sometimes the work one starts to suffer, and then you got to pull it back, and sometimes that right there is where things get kind of hazy. And what I do coming in is kind of helping people look through different lenses and keeping themselves grounded and making sure that they're going through these practices to kind of reflect on different aspects or the principles that I teach to kind of keep them aligned and moving forward. Kind of self-check system for each person individually, essentially.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. So one of my questions is, how would you help someone recognize that they're about to hit burnout if they haven't already?
Yeah, so, well, one, obviously having a quick conversation, kind of feeling it out, seeing like, okay, well, where are we at in terms of what we're doing? One of the first exercises that I kind of run through with people is it's like an output assessment, kind of figure out where they are on this resilience matrix that I call it. It's kind of like a graph. And if you're too far to one side, you're too physically exhausted. You're like pushing yourself long hours, like you're just drained from whatever you're outputting.
Yeah.
But then on the y-axis going vertically is like your cognitive or your emotional output as well, because if that's also super high, that's where you get cognitively burnt out. So you can get physically crushed and then cognitively burnt out, and then when you're both of those, then you're just totally destroyed. But the same thing though is the other way around. So if you're not being challenged enough on either of those, you'll stay down in the comfort corner, and that's not going to help you move forward with the projects that you are. So for example, if you think of it like a graph, like I was saying before, the y-axis is the cognitive one and the x-axis is the physical one. Yep. When I was with my personal training business, I was physically exhausted to the extreme. So I was all the way to the right on the physical side. The cognitive one, I was weighed down so much because there was a lot going on, but I wasn't challenging myself. I wasn't stepping up or pushing myself or growing or stretching myself cognitively. Every day was the same thing, same problems, same people. There was nothing new. So I was down, really far down. And what you want to do with this matrix, this graph, is you want to try to get back to the center. I always talk about like diamonds, because diamonds are formed under immense amount of heat and pressure. And if you think of the matrix kind of as like a gauge, like the vertical one being the temperature for the heat, that's the cognitive challenge. And then the horizontal one is like the pressure gauge. And you want to bring that back to center so that you can perform more like a diamond, and you can shine bright, or whatever kind of silly little tagline you want to use. But the idea is, okay, well, where are we at? What are we doing? Are we too far to this side, or are we not far enough? How do we get back to center? What we can do is like, hey, if you're too physically exhausted, what kind of practices or strategies do you already have where you can use to kind of calm yourself down or get some extra rest? Or if you're not challenging yourself in the cognitive realm, what are some things that you can do to broaden the way you're thinking and kind of push yourself cognitively, or get yourself out of the comfort zone through these ways? So for me, it was, okay, I need to stop working so many hours. I need to bring down that physical pressure to get back to the center. But I also need to start to elevate the new things that I'm doing. I need to go to new networking events. I started public speaking, which really was stressful in that kind of manner, getting in front of an audience. Being a coach and a leader on a lot of sports teams, I am comfortable speaking in front of a crowd. But when I'm trying to teach something or share a story or something, it was so stressful. So then that was like really hard. But that was getting me out of my comfort zone in the cognitive realm. And that was all about aligning back to that diamond zone in the center. And once you're kind of there, then we can move on to like the next step and kind of seeing like, okay, what else? What are we consuming next? And then, okay, we get into the food and the digital nutrition and things like that, and so on, going down the road of the prime performance process, I call.
Ooh, just forgive my ineptitude on this. Prime performance coaching process. The 3 P's. I'm not going to be able to say that quickly.
I'm a huge alliteration guy, so I love acronyms and same letter stuff, so it makes it easy for me to remember.
Fair enough. For me and my speech impediment, it's not the best thing. But aside from that, you had mentioned something in there called the comfort corner. What is that? Just where people like to sit all the time? Is that where we find ourselves most of the time?
I wouldn't say most of the time or all the time, but going back to that matrix. So if you're in the lower left-hand quadrant, that's the comfort corner. So that's where you're scoring the lowest on like the physical pressure gauge, but you're also scoring the lowest on the cognitive temperature gauge. So you're not challenging yourself cognitively and you're not challenging yourself physically. So you're just chilling out all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that, because there are going to be seasons where we want to spend more time in there. So like you're somebody with a super stressful job where you're handling a lot of tasks and you're also working a lot of long hours and you're juggling on your projects, you might be in the top right-hand quadrant. And we would need to practice or design a plan to bring us back towards that comfort corner, to bring us closer to the diamond center, right? Because if we go from the top right to the bottom left, we're going to cross right across that middle diamond center. But the problem is if you stay there for too long, because you do need a little bit of friction to kind of start the fire, to get the ball rolling. So if you want to, once you do kind of bring yourself back down and say you are in that position, you're dropping all the way down into that comfort corner and you spend time there for a while, it's cozy. So you're not going to want to move. So if you want to start a new project, or if you do want to hire new or get new clients or hire a team, or if you want to start a new podcast, or if you do want to do something, you're going to have to challenge yourself and get out of that comfort corner.
So yeah, getting out of the comfort corner is pretty difficult. I mean, that's how this podcast really started, right? It was getting out of my comfort zone in many more ways than I thought. But that's kind of interesting because I'm sure that you were stepping out of your comfort corner going about this whole business as well. Even though you had a whole bunch of skills and stuff behind you and you had a bunch of support, I'm sure that was still something that was like definitely out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah, definitely. Starting my podcast was terrifying at first because I didn't really know what I was doing. And one of my mentors was like, hey, man, you got to do this. You got to start going, getting better at having conversations, creating more content and sharing messages, your message and other people's message with the world. Like, you got to start doing more of this stuff. And
yeah,
in the beginning, it was super nervous. Like, even just to have a conversation with somebody on Zoom. And that took a while to get better at that. And that was me slowly climbing out of that comfort zone corner. And then like social media, like it's weird to talk. And even though nobody cares and nobody's even looking half the time, like you feel like there's like a million people on you at all the time.
Yeah, that is for sure. I don't know what it is, but whenever I know that little button up there says live or recording, it makes my chest feel a little bit different every time. Like, oh shit, we're live. Anyone could be watching, but it's recording. It's like, whatever. Like, post-production is the thing.
Yeah.
Right. But getting out of your comfort zone is pretty difficult for many, many people. And that's kind of why you said that we like to stay down there. So how do you like urge people or spur them forward to get out of it? Because I mean, it's pretty cozy. I got everything in my comfort corner, right? I don't need to leave.
Yeah, but thinking about it, so it depends on everybody, right? So let's just use podcasting, I guess, for an example. So what does it take to be good at podcasting? You have to be comfortable to a certain degree with speaking to somebody else if you're going to be doing interview practices. So if you're somebody who maybe just has like a regular cubicle kind of job where you only talk to your boss and maybe two other coworkers and then your family at home, social skills or social, like just communicating with people might not be a strong suit, and you're going to have to get better at that. And if your goal is to start doing a podcast, maybe you just kind of start having conversation, go to a networking event or something and just meet somebody and then just build that up a little bit. And then maybe you go to another event down the road and then maybe a couple events, and then you start inviting people on for podcasts, or maybe you start having phone calls with people just to kind of start things up. And there's always a continuum on everything, and putting the boundaries out and understanding what's the project that you're working on. You can usually kind of identify different skills and things that successful people or successful projects in the past have. And then from there, it's just like, okay, well, how can I get into it? So public speaking was something that I had jumped into, and my biggest stage was like in front of 400 people, and I was terrified when I did that, but I didn't just jump right out into it because I wasn't ready for that. And I started in smaller little things, and I hosted a couple of events with just like friends and family would show up, and you get a little bit better at it, you get a little more confident at it, and it's about understanding where you're at and then working towards the skills that you want to kind of get at, and then small step by small step. So if somebody's just like, okay, hey, I got a lot of things that I got to be doing, I need to be better at longer hours or something, maybe it's like, hey, maybe I should go to the gym, and just that's an easy way to introduce some discomfort, because whatever you're doing in the gym, it's probably not going to feel good, whether you're lifting weights or going for a run, or to be honest, it kind of sucks. And that's coming from a strength and conditioning coach. Like, it's uncomfortable, and that's an easy way to introduce that. Or maybe like a cold plunge, or maybe going live on your Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook, or there's different ways to kind of build it up. And it's an easy way to ratchet yourself into that diamond zone again and climbing out of that comfort corner. But then that's where you do the assessment again. Like, okay, have I been doing too much? Do I need to kind of bring myself back down?
Okay, interesting. Real quick, are there only 3 quadrants to this graph, or are there all 4?
All 4.
Okay.
So because the two measures are physical exhaustion and then like cognitive exhaustion, essentially.
Yeah.
So if you're cognitively really challenging yourself and it's really stressful and demanding, that's going to raise the temperature and it's going to bring you up the y-axis. But if you're low on the physical stuff and you're just kind of very casual, not really like basically a desk job 24/7, maybe not really getting out too much, that'll keep you in the lower on the physical, high on the cognitive. That puts you in like that cooked corner, I say, because the temperature. So that's the cooked corner. And then if you add in a lot of that pressure, it slides over the pressure gauge, and that brings you from there over to like the complete burnout zone. And then if you drop the cognitive challenge and you just like super chill, but always pushing yourself, like run 24/7, kind of like when personal training, that brings you all the way down into the crushed corner. See, alliterations are my thing, man.
Fair enough.
And then you got back to the comfort corner if you're not pressuring yourself or challenging yourself in either of those aspects.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I was sitting here and while you're talking, I was like, there's that third corner. What is that corner about? You know, I was like, what is that? Because I was like, it would be something that's less physical, but your mental state is up higher. And so an office cubicle job would fit that perfect. And cooked, I think, is also perfect for it because, I mean, what are you doing to your brain otherwise, right?
Exactly.
So, it's interesting that you're finding these different ways that people can sit there and navigate their own personal worlds, if you will, to better themselves and things like that. I know that you'd mentioned someone about writing a book. What information do you got for authors?
Yeah. So I'm not an author. I just want to put that out there.
Fair enough.
I do have some stuff in the works down the road. So maybe eventually I become an author. But what I would say is kind of looking at yourself. Where are you in the project first? Do you have like the everything, the outline? Do you have like a first draft? Like where are you at currently? And then what do you need to kind of get to next? And are you dedicating time? Do you have scheduled time to do your writing? Are you practicing what you are trying to do? Because if you're writing a book, you're going to be considered a writer. So you got to make sure that you are writing. Do you have systems set up for that? Like, do you have like a process even? Because some people get into like the writer's block and they can't kind of get the words out of their head and into the paper. Maybe it's adjusting the system. So like maybe playing some music, maybe putting some candle on that makes you smell it and then reminds you it's time to write, changing your clothes, maybe having a specific meal or something. And it's kind of like when I would work with a lot of individuals who would have trouble going to sleep at night, it'd be like, okay, well, what's your bedtime routine? Like, can you set up enough dominoes so that they all trickle down and then you eventually fall asleep? So if you're a writer and you're trying to get into a good process, like, hey, what time of day do you normally write? If you just kind of choose whenever you feel like you want to write, then it might not fall into place. If you have a designated time, if you have something that sets your senses, so taste or smell or even sight, you can kind of read something or put up motivational quotes or whatever that kind of tricks you into, all right, now it's time to do this. And maybe you've got a favorite shirt that you wear when you want to write, so you put that on. You feel the material of the shirt, you can see it, you embody it, and these are little tiny things that you can do to stack those dominoes up, and then eventually you knock enough of them down, then the momentum's just going to roll, and then you can sit down and you can get to writing.
Ooh, I love that. Setting up dominoes to make sure the systems work for you in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Those things that you were saying to set up the dominoes, are those also the same things that help someone get out of burnout?
It could be. It kind of depends though. So my understanding is, like we said earlier, that like burnout wears a lot of different masks. So it kind of depends on what's leading or causing the burnout or the frustration or the isolation. Because for me, it was like those essentially 6 causes, right? I was not being challenged appropriately and I was overstressing myself. So my awareness on my outputs was all out of whack, and I was just a fragile person because I wasn't operating well. My inputs were terrible. I was not eating well and I was not consuming anything beneficial for me. So that's 2. And then 3 was I lacked clarity and focus and direction. I wasn't sure what I was doing, and I was just kind of aimless following my personal training schedule. And number 4, I had no system or operation to getting out of it. I didn't have a plan to move forward. I was just like, okay, I'm going to just keep training forever, I guess, and never get off the hamster wheel. And then 5, I was isolated, even though I was surrounded by people. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have any team captains to hold me accountable or challenge me to new projects. And I didn't have a crowd to support me either. And so there's another alliteration for you: coach, captains, and crowd. And and then the opportunity. I felt like there was no room for opportunity for me. I was just kind of stuck and I just felt like there's no luck left in my life. I was just drained up, and I was like, all right, I used up everything I have here.
Ooh, luck. I've heard a lot of different things about luck through my years, and I saw one thing on your PodMatch profile that said something, and I think you've touched on it before as well, creating luck. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So is that kind of like setting up the dominoes in a sense?
In a way, yeah. So
okay,
creating your luck falls under the 6th principle of the opportunity that I teach a lot of people. And as I said, I'm a big acronym guy. So if you want to look like the overnight success and super lucky, then you just follow the acronym luck, and it should help generate some opportunity and momentum for your projects. And if you could remember luck, then that can get the ball rolling for you. And the first letter is leveraging your uniqueness. So to figure out what your uniqueness is, you got to understand what is the problem that you're trying to solve. So whatever project or side hustle that you're working on, what is the problem that it solves for whoever your audience is? Then you want to understand what is the cause behind that problem. And then finally, what is your unique solution, or how do you solve it versus somebody else? And that the cross section between those 3 things is what comes out to being your uniqueness. So for me, with my business, the problem that I solve is stagnation. So someone getting stuck and they're caused by burnout, or they're not sure what they're stuck by. They're just kind of stuck and they can't get out of the way. The wheel is still spinning. And the uniqueness or the lens that I bring in for the solution is awareness, is reflecting more consciously on things, looking at these principles and seeing, where are you? Are you, like, going back to that matrix? Where are we at? We get to the inputs, like, what are we consuming? What are digitally and dietarily? And just going down the list of those. And then that fills in on leveraging your uniqueness.
Okay. So is that all luck is leveraging your uniqueness?
Oh, no, sorry. There's still 3 other letters. Then you is understanding your audience. So understanding macro, so like their demographic, understanding the micro more. So it's like, okay, their psychographic, why do they doing things? And then really understanding their values. And if you can know their demographic, psychographic, and their values, really that kind of gives you a clear understanding of who you're solving the problem for. So now you know the problem that you solve, you know the solution to the problem, you know the cause of the problem, you know the individual on a big level, small level, exactly who it is, and then you get to C for the acronym, and that's collaboration. So from there, it's all about, like, who can you collaborate with and how can you collaborate? So, for example, I started public speaking, and then I knew I needed to start getting on more stages and getting in front of other audiences. I started going to this one public speaking coach time after time, and eventually we developed a relationship, started collaborating together. Now I get to teach some of his workshops, I get to go on his stages, these things that gets me in front of more people. So collaboration is key, but to have a good collaboration, we have to understand the commitment behind it, the capacity, and the checkpoints to make sure that things are moving smoothly.
The 3 C's. I got you.
Yeah. And then once you have a collaboration kind of drawn out, then we get to the final letter, which is K. Super simple. You just got to keep showing up. So how do you keep showing up is you constantly are capturing as much as you can. So testimonials, pictures, your feedback from people on different events or projects. How did things go? And then you want to continue growing. So now it's assessing on how did things go. Like, oh, did this go well, or did that thing not go so well? Could I have done this a little bit differently or better? And then you just change and evolve. And then that opportunity, you take the information and you reflect on it, and then you move forward. Again, was the project good? Was the problem that you solved not really for the audience? Maybe you need to change that around. Maybe the collaboration didn't work out so well and it didn't pan out the way you thought. So maybe you can lean into finding a better collaboration to help it down the road for the second time you're going to run through the project.
Ooh, okay. So, man, the way that you just kind of laid everything out really makes it sound like someone could do this, but at the same time, they might just need that outside lens. They might need that outside perspective. And that's what you bring to the table, is that awareness to be like, hey, nah, bud, you kind of like, you're going for this and you totally went to the right. And that's not the way to go, right?
He's like, hey, man, like, you're pretty close, a little off. Like, are we happy with that, or do we want to kind of slide over that way? Like,
I mean, the choice is ultimately theirs, right?
yeah, I mean, maybe, like, so yes, I mean, like, joking aside, like, sometimes that is what happens, right? So, like, when I was trying to figure out what I was doing, I was like, all right, I'm going this way, and I'm like, I'm going that way. I'm going this way, I'm going that way. And then eventually I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to stay over here. I like this spot.
Oh, okay. So just because it's not necessarily where the aim was doesn't mean it's a bad or wrong thing either, right?
Oh, yeah, I guess it kind of depends. It's that conversation. Like, hey, man, yeah, you were going this way and you landed all the way over there. How do you feel about that? Do you want to stay there, or do you want to go back over there?
Yeah. Like, real quick, what's one of the weirdest instances of that you've seen? Aside from maybe yourself.
For someone who's like set out for one project and then they ended up doing another one.
Yeah, and or maybe something completely different than what they even thought they wanted to do.
That's interesting. I'm not sure if I can think of one per se, but I know with like my group of friends and people in my mastermind, the projects evolve, but it's never like okay, I'm going this way, and then all of a sudden I'm like down the road. It's like, it's usually like a small little deviation, and then it slides a little bit here, and then it kind of switches to the other side. But usually it makes sense. I mean, I have seen people who've like been in the one industry, like accounting for 30 years, and then just decided they want to be a nurse. All right, yeah, total flip, but more power to you. You need more nurses.
Yeah, we really do. That was one of those things that I was going to go in for, but I'm kind of glad I didn't. It's a long story. It doesn't matter. But that's the thing, is that we're sitting here and you had said the word evolve. So not only does someone's aim or end goal possibly evolve with them, but they're evolving along the way. And from what it sounds like, you're evolving with them. You know, it's just everyone's just on the same road, trying to get better, trying to figure their stuff out, things like that. And it's really interesting what you've been able to do and the awareness and the clarity that you bring to the table, because it's just one of those things that we need people to do that in this world, you know, because we don't get this stuff taught to us in school. Like, that'd be great. But I do have to ask, because we are almost out of time, do you think that we could see you on in the future? I mean, that's one of the things that I don't think that we've gotten to the bottom of the cooked section. You know, so maybe we can figure out some more ways that people in cubicles can avoid burnout once it hits, or ways that they can get out of it. Maybe we can have some actual real life examples, possibly.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and everyone else out there, y'all should be looking forward as well. But Rob, why don't you remind everyone where they can find you on everything besides robtraz.com?
Yeah. Well, going through there, you should be able to find all the different socials and channels and such. But podcast is easy to get found. Just searching Surviving the Side Hustle, or going to survivingthesidehustle.com. And then also Instagram and LinkedIn, where I hang out typically the most. And that's just by searching my name, Rob Tracz, in both of those guys, and you should see me popping up.
Sweet. That is awesome. It's just one of those things that burnout, like I said at the beginning, it can seem to sneak up on people. But do you think that it ever hits someone just out of nowhere from left field?
I don't know about that, actually. I never thought about that. I don't think so. I think it's going to be a gradual thing. And if you are aware and you're paying more attention, and you're kind of aware of your boundaries, and you know how much further and when you can push for, I think you can usually course correct to kind of prevent it from getting too far. But yeah, I feel like it's no matter where you are on the continuum of like burnout, like you can always improve. And there are going to be times where there's going to be seasons where you are going to need to sprint and kind of dip your toe into that burnout. But being aware of it and for how long so that you can reel yourself back in is what I think is the key.
Okay, I love that. And so it's not bad to be in burnout so long as we're not in it too long. I like that because it's not sitting there saying never ever get there. It's just saying, hey, if you find yourself there, be aware. So
yeah, exactly.
I love that. And one last question for you, Rob. The name of this podcast is Retrieving Sanity, and we explore how living life affects all our facets of mental health. I said that wrong. But anyways, with that being said, looking at the motley adventures of your life, what does retrieving sanity personally mean to you today? And what's one practice or perspective that someone else can use in their journey?
Yeah, for me, I think it's kind of getting back to being grounded and getting around people and just connecting more. I think connecting more is what it means to me. And I think the best way to do that is to just be open and touch base with people and reach out, have a conversation, connect with old friends and new friends too. So I think connection's the key here.
Sweet. Connection is key. It is one of the things that helps fix addiction for me. So I think you're right on spot. So with that being said, Rob, thank you for being on Retrieving Sanity. And it's been an honor and a pleasure. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation. Hopefully I don't hit burnout before that. So with that being said, everyone else out there, y'all have a wonderful rest of your day, night, weekend, whatever it is that you're listening to this. But aside from that, just got to remember to love yourself, love others if you can, but you got to love yourself first. And just try to stay safe out there. It's a crazy world. Take care of yourself. And with that being said, we'll see you next week. Much love. Shalom.